Welcome to Harness the Ship, the podcast where I spotlight souls shaping a new humanity. I am Jay, a neurosomatic strategist bringing lived experience and practical insight to help listeners see new perspectives and navigate their own paths. I interview leaders, entrepreneurs, and co-creators and change makers, those who have stepped into their healing journeys and are sharing their experiences and perspectives to inspire others on their path of self-discovery and transformation. During these conversations, my guests share how you can connect with them, and all their details are in the podcast description. Now let's take a moment to meet our guests for today. Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift. Today's guest is Casey Muze. Casey is a trauma educator, music therapist, mentor, and speaker who works at the intersection of rhythm, nervous system regulation, and personal responsibility. Through percussion, breath, and trauma education, he teaches a powerful truth. Healing isn't about fixing anyone else. It's about taking responsibility for yourself. Your trauma may not be your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. And when we commit to that work, when we regulate our own nervous system, honor our own boundaries, and rediscover our own cadence, something shifts. We don't heal to serve. We heal because it is our responsibility to find our own purpose. And as a byproduct of alignment, service naturally flows. Today's conversation explores rhythm, emotional regulation, and radical responsibility, and what it truly means to live with purpose, not from pressure, but from cadence. Help me welcome our guest today, Casey Muze. Excuse me. Thank you for joining us today. Help me welcome my guest, Casey Muze, from the great state of Texas. Hi, Casey. How have you been?
Oh man, spectacular, great. I don't know about the great, like the great state of Texas thing, but maybe that's another conversation. Whatever. But I'm in the state of Texas, and I do love the fact that I'm in the state of Texas. It's just, yeah, it's
Super.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. I rolled through Texas in November, and
yeah,
huge state. Takes forever. Takes
yeah,
forever to cross.
yeah. Approximately 16 hours, I do
It
believe.
is a long time. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's a huge state. It really, truly is.
yeah, yeah. I have been told, and this makes a whole lot of sense. I think it is just as far east to west as it is California is south to north.
True story.
Yeah,
True story. And I've driven California across and long ways. So I concur with that statement.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
a long state, but this is a beautiful country, and I'm truly grateful that I've had the opportunity to see a lot of it. The only states that I
yeah.
haven't been to are Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay, you got to go
So,
across some water to get to those.
yeah, true story. A little bit of a plane ride and a little bit of a
Yeah,
trek, but it's on my
yeah,
bucket list. So hopefully we'll get it in.
yeah.
We'll get it
Of
in this
course,
lifetime.
of course. Yeah. Well, I'd say if you've already done the rest, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm on a track, and I've traveled half the world, so I need to do the East. So I'm hoping that will happen here in the near future, because I want to get over to see all of that. So truly,
Yeah.
truly beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. So can you share a little bit with our audience today, your journey and who you were before this work and what brought you to this moment that you're at right now?
Yeah. So, wow, that's broad. I love that though. So, give some understanding about where I am now. I feel like that's really important. Is
Mm-hmm.
for the last 10 years, I have served as a music therapist and a trauma educator of of a national sense, right? What's really super cool about my trauma education is God has found, God has guided me to be found a lot in a room, a small group room, a large group room with women exploring what trauma looks like, right? All of the nuances of what that is. I also walk my day to day, usually during the school year, in and out of school districts and other education spaces to provide music therapy with hand drums of the cognitive space and all the cognitive intentions that are there, right? And then as well as my work as a young adult male mentor, right? And before all of this work, I have been independent, working for myself and only myself in all of this work for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I was working as a licensed chemical dependency counselor in three different settings. I worked 3 years in residential adult. I worked 6 years in teens and adolescents outpatient. I worked the 2.5, 3 years before that in the prison system doing substance abuse work. Before that, studied music production and sound engineering and music theory, and that was a huge part of my life from a kid till early adulthood was music and specifically drumming and all of those things. Was a performing trained drummer since junior high, and I continued to be proficient at my studies of percussion and all the things. And yeah, life has taken turns, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the beautiful thing about life, right?
Mm.
It just, when we let it flow, it just flows. So you
Yeah.
talk about, you mentioned that you're a percussionist.
Hmm.
So describe your work around rhythm and restoration, and what does that truly mean in your lived experience?
Seasons of mental health for me stem from a boy, a kid of trying to figure out who the hell I was. And just moved out of my parents' house. I moved into an apartment with my two best friends from high school, and our friendship became strange and we weren't close anymore. And I was feeling on my own and just trying to figure out what I needed to be doing or who I was or what my purpose was and all the magical things that people start to wonder in life, right? And found
Absolutely.
myself working too much on the 9 to 5 job and going to school and at the same time. And then also through all of that and some other things, just going through depression and going through, I'm going to say this in this chronological order, going through anxiety, which led to me going through depression, right? And the cure for me was specifically a pattern called the paradiddle mixed with box breathing on a specific day of me feeling trapped in my room in this apartment and fits of stomping and, as Kid Cudi would say, raging. Shout out to Kid Cudi. That was an album that got me through, man. Yeah, and there are a few really specific musical experiences and good listens that got me through as well. And I do want to run the short gamut on those. I don't know if one would be Kid Cudi or not, because Kid Cudi was doing some other things at that point in time. But the musicality definitely served its purpose, right? One band would be a really cool Icelandic band called Sigur Rós, and I love Sigur Rós to this day. They're undoubtedly my favorite.
I haven't heard of them.
Sigur space ROS. And another one would be Bjork. Man, got my hands on Bjork, and that was it, man. The sonics and all of the frequencies that she played
Hmm.
with were just phenomenal to me, right? Grizzly Bear from Brooklyn, New York was just ridiculous. Yeah, yeah. I think that's it. I mean, like those were so pivotal for me for music and rhythm and exploration, but specifically the whole rhythm and restoration. Drumming serves a purpose for me understanding mental health and how my brain can think progressively and positively and nuanced, right? And at that point in time, all I knew and all I had was a paradiddle, and all I knew is that somebody told me about box breathing, and I'm like, okay, there's 4 notes in a paradiddle, there's 4 steps to a box breath. Somebody told me to do box breathing one time whenever I was feeling not knowing what to do, and so I slowed down my breathing enough and my thinking enough to allow myself to get into the box breath, and then I would stomp with the box breath. And so I added the physical element to what my body did as well. And man, I don't know if that day, if that moment would not have happened, I don't know what my life would look like. I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? Who the hell knows? And I do know that after that day, it gave me the memory of what it looked like to be okay in that moment. And so every single moment I would experience it, I kept doing that because that whole entire season was just really dark for me, right? Of going through just not knowing, just
Mm-hmm.
not knowing at all, right? Yeah. So in this specific moment, actually, I wrote about in a mental health book that I was featured in, and the story is told very descriptively. But yeah, it was a big moment.
You know, you speak about breath work, and breath work has really entered into my orbit, we'll say, in the last
Yeah,
6 years, right? And I've done shamanic breathing and also the box breathing. I like to do the 7 in, 7 out.
yeah,
I feel like when you
yeah.
connect with your breath, especially, I had a lot of during my journey, I had a lot of anger that I needed to process. And so, when you're in that anger, it just takes you to another level. And if you could just connect to your breath, it is like transformative. It really truly is. Because we don't
Yeah.
breathe enough as human
No,
beings.
no. Or when we do, we breathe shallow,
Yeah.
and the breathing doesn't get the full benefits of
Yeah.
connecting with yourself physiologically
Mhm.
up to the cognitive, right? And those, yeah. And, also we learn to breathe with our mouth a whole lot. Not that that's not important, but we don't nasal breathe enough, right?
Yeah.
And that's really important as well, to nasal breathe more than what we do, right? If you study martial arts or any type of artist that studies physical movement, they are heavy proponents of nasal breathing for their wind and lung capacity to continue, for their dexterity and for their endurance, right? Because mouth breathing takes a lot of effort, and it's
It sure
just,
does.
yeah.
Sure does.
Which, I mean, that's the short story of it. Mouth breathing takes a lot of effort. That's not the only reason, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I'm picking it up. I'm picking it up.
yeah, yeah.
So how did your own struggles influence the way that you show up for others?
Oh man, oh man. So at first it started with kids, with teenagers, man. It was so wild. I don't think I had the chance or had the opportunity to connect the dots until I got the opportunity to work with adolescents during substance abuse, because from time to time I would take a hand drum to process group with them, or like didactic cognitive group with them or something, and I would do a exercise, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I knew enough about drumming to make it tie into whatever, right? And I knew that I was learning how to facilitate change and emotional well-being differently than any of my peers, because of this tool that I knew so much about. This little drum that seems like it is so simple in the surface, but because of my studies as a practitioner, knew so much about the frequencies that could be emitted from it and how to use them, because I had studied music theory while I went to school for music production and sound engineering, right? And to know the wavelength or the life that one frequency might have versus another frequency, but also to know the neural pathway, the neurotransmitters that are induced because of this frequency versus that frequency, right? And yeah, and I think it started there, right, with teens, and I was super
Hmm.
excited to have that opportunity to be able to work with them for 6 years and to have almost that 6 years of practice specifically, right? And that was almost a sounding board. And now you look at what I do and who I don't get the opportunity to practice with. And I say that because I do. Now I walk into daycares and do a program called Percussion Pals. And I walk into special needs schools and do a program called Trap Learning from California. And so I'm one of the providers of Trap Learning from California, right? And so I do special needs programs from kids all the way up to adults, right? Whether they're verbal, whether they're nonverbal, whether we're talking about neurodivergencies or not neurodivergencies, so autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, right? All of these things, right? ODD, like ADHD, like every single one of them can get a taste of what I do, and it's great. I do veterans with PTSD. I also do adults with dementia, right? And so it's really profound. It is most definitely shaped my life. I get to almost say all I do is travel around with the drum in my car and do therapy that way. However, that's most of my day, right? Aside from
Yeah.
doing the trauma work with people who are in my trauma programs, and I say trauma programs, but I mean that go through my talks and my seminars and end up getting consultation with me after the fact, right? That is, yeah,
That's
yeah. And
amazing.
no, it's cool. And what's super cool about it is it's the work that's easy because it makes the most sense to me. I mean, it's the work that I do so much research on, but it's the work that God has given me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's also a testimony that when you really step into your purpose and you do what you love, like it just comes easy. It really does.
Yes, I mean, you and I know we say easy, right? I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
be
yeah.
remiss. I mean, we don't want to be
It's
remiss. It
not
takes some
easy.
work, right? It takes
Right.
some
It
work,
does
right?
take work. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I'm saying that it flows, right? It flows easily because that's who you are and you're bringing it
Yes.
forth.
Yes. Also, yes, if you understand that that is your purpose, and you also have to understand this, right? Is you also have to prepare yourself to be able to step into that calling, right? Because the doors are not going to be open for you unless you've done the prep work to be able to handle the responsibility or the calling of what it is, right?
Yeah. And that I think that's why it's so important to answer that call when the spirit says, okay, it's time, like just to flow with it and to surrender to the process because it is so transformative. When we do step into that healing work and heal that inner child um, that we all have, we all have that inner
Yes.
child. And when we step into that journey, and it isn't easy work. It isn't easy work. But I think what's encouraging is that so many of us have gone on the journey. We're stepping into our
Mm.
purpose, and those that are following, they're going to be supported in that walk.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing to convey is that you're not alone in where you may feel that you are. You're really not, because
Yes.
there's people out here that have done the work and have learned how to be compassionate and understanding and loving and grace and all of the those wonderful attributes. And so yeah, I think we're
Mm.
entering amazing times coming forward. So yeah. So what do most people misunderstand about emotional regulation in the nervous system from your perspective?
Most of the time, well, most of the time they they misunderstand how to utilize the tools to re-regulate, right? And I would say that's the thing that people misunderstand about it the most is they don't, like we were talking about with the breath work, right? They don't do the breath work right. They don't fully step into how to use the tools right, right. And I think more so than anything is the stigma that's around nervous system regulation is such the barrier more so than anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, what
So
are people gonna think, right?
yeah, what
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a conditioning where we're like, oh, what is that person going to think? Or what's that person going to think? And I think once you work through that, I mean, I know I've had to work through that. I'm sure you did too. That's, again, it's not easy to move through it, but when you do, you realize like, I don't have to worry about what anybody thinks, right? You get to
Yeah.
a point like, and I can honestly say that I'm at that point where I know that I'm flowing in what I need to be doing, and if folks don't agree, okay, that's fine. This I'm following the spirit. I'm doing my
Yeah.
thing, and so argue with God on that, because
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, well, to go back to people, right?
Yeah,
My mom used to always tell me those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind.
beautiful wisdom there, right?
Right. Right.
Beautiful wisdom. So
Right.
true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
true. Yeah. And I think the criticism, it comes from those that aren't doing the work, right? And you
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
said that in that
Yeah.
in that right there, that they really, it's like I find that the
Yes.
the people that tend to judge me or question what I'm doing
Yes.
are folks that they're not doing the work. So
Yes.
their perspective is skewed because they don't know.
They don't know.
Mm-mm,
They don't know. Yeah.
mm-mm. And that's when you're getting that projection, right, from people. It's kind of, that's an opportunity for you to, me, whoever's in this, whoever is in their purpose and stepping for it, it's an opportunity to exercise, right, that compassion and understanding that some folks, meeting them where they're at, uh,
Hmm.
and being compassionate and understanding that there are folks that are on that cusp, right? They haven't yet stepped into the work. And so we just have to, that's where we have an opportunity to drop seeds and to, let God water it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that
Because
because
how
I
many
think it's
how many times in life has someone said
yeah.
something to you and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, no, 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 no. And then, you leave the situation and then you're by yourself and you ponder on it and you're like, they said this, that, and then you start to think and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you know what? That kind of made sense. Maybe I should look further into that. And I think a lot of times it's this, you know, this this programming, conditioning, it's
Mm.
the ego saying, you got to know it all. And if you don't know it all, then you don't know anything. And we're not expected to know everything, right? I don't know everything. That's why I'm interviewing you, Casey Muse. Is come
Yeah.
on and tell me, share your wisdom, because I
Yeah.
can't possibly know it all, and nor am I expected to, and nor are you.
Yeah. We're not. We're absolutely not expected to, right? So yeah, I have been known and had this reputation to have incredibly high boundaries.
Mm.
And I've had that reputation for a very long time, at least for the last like 15, 20 years or so, right? I have, well, 15-ish years, right? I have incredibly high boundaries, and I can attest that I do. My wife can attest that I do. And people oftentimes don't know what to think about me when they first meet me, right? They think that I'm a little arrogant sometimes. They think that I am a little pompous sometimes. Sometimes they think that I'm kind, right? I don't worry about it. And I say that because it's really important because those are the people that mind, right? And so to dive deep into this like phrase, this minding, right, is sometimes like the opposite side of the space is sometimes I have to mind my business so that I can mind my business, if that makes sense, right? And so to look at the energy that exists of people prejudging, having pre-ideas of me, and here's the reality of it is they may be right, their opinion may be true, but until that person can appropriately bring their thoughts and their feelings about you to the table with you in a safe space for conversation and exploration, that is not your business. People's opinions of you is are not your business, right? Unless they want to open up the door for that conversation, right? And until that point in time, it would behoove you to walk your life, continue what you were doing before you met that person, and
Mm-hmm.
continue treading your journey because it's not your responsibility to tend to that thing of which you were not privy to. And even if you were wondering, even if you were bothered by the possibility that they may, if it's not brought to you, then it's not your energy to consume, right? And so I say that because that is one surefire way to not be distracted by energy that can be taking you off your path, taking you off your focus, taking you off your journey, right? And sometimes, right, sometimes people get slammed for the idea of healing, right? You know, the whole purpose of the healing journey is for you to heal.
Absolutely.
You to heal yourself. But here's
Mm-hmm.
the radical part is not so you can help others, right? And I live in a space of, like business people are like, I just want to help people. Like, I don't want to help nobody. Here's the truth about my business and my work is I live and exist to give people tools and wisdom and introspective thought processes that are altered from what they have so that they can walk forward and help themselves. Also, to the point to where they may never need to see me again. If I never see them again, that is absolutely fine. That is the absolute freedom for me to know that I assisted that person on their journey with so much freedom, liberation, and autonomous thinking and action that they can walk through problem solving patterns and even reflection of the introspective thought cognitive process that might leave them stuck. Usually if they can provide themselves with the tool, if they now can provide themselves with more tools based upon the tools that I gave them, and they never need to see me again other than a random hey, listen, thank you, blah. And even if I don't ever see that again or hear that again, that's cool too, right?
Absolutely. Because you're absolutely right about that. I think there is a misconception about the healing that, I mean, I think it's a byproduct of when we step into our healing journey. Obviously, there's a byproduct that we can help other people, but our purpose
Sure.
is to heal,
Yes, to continue
right?
to help yourself. Because
Absolutely.
in reality, look, you look at it like, and then one of the statements that I hear a lot is I can't wait to be healed with the hard ed at the end of it, and I'm like, but the moment you stop practicing because you think you're healed, that's when the devil comes. And I'm throwing out Christian colloquialisms, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
Christian, but I'm very open, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter to me
Yeah,
what you are at all, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, not at all. And
The
but
devil
that
on the
hard,
shoulder, the ego.
sure, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But that hard ed just it's a thing that leaves us stuck because we stop doing the work and then we all of a sudden think that we can heal everybody else or give everybody else. And sometimes that happens and sometimes that doesn't, right? And I'm not putting I'm not putting this idea that that happens automatically with everybody, but it does happen, right? Just
Absolutely.
you don't have all the answers. Your only responsibility is yourself, and the best way that you can give wisdom to other people is to continue to be an example of the healing journey. Be an example first, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not saying just be an example, but be an example of healing first for others.
Yeah. And, it's interesting when you say that word healed with the ED. I think energetically, you spoke about frequency earlier. I think it's closing, right? It's not
Yes,
open. And the
yes,
moment that
yeah,
we close off, we're not open and ready to receive, right? Any
yes,
and all information, wisdom, whatever it may be. And, like I said, admittedly, I don't have all the answers. I'm just called to share. I'm called to bring folks together to share their wisdom like you are here today. And I am grateful for that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. In my journey, I've always instinctively kind of known that. Like, I'm not responsible to do the work for other folks, right? I can just be maybe an inspiration for them, to a catalyst for them to, but not to heal them or make them or any of that. Because I know that there is a level of openness that we have to have. And it's a continuum, right? It's
yeah.
healing, right? And,
Yeah.
every
Well,
day.
it's also a journey,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
the more that you can kind of gather along the path, it's like, ooh, well, that's cool. Let me put that here in my pocket. Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
Let me put that over here in this pocket. And
yeah,
I I hear things. I learn something every day. Every single day, I challenge myself to learn something, whether that's hearing about a book that I never heard of. And then, ooh, okay, maybe I'm interested in getting that book and integrating that knowledge. I think when we remain open and ready to receive any and all information in a place of where inquisitive or seeking, all of these beautiful things, it just kind of we just level up from it just keeps going. It's a continuum. So
yeah.
yeah, I definitely resonate with that. That's for sure. So in your mentorship, you spoke about the young folks that you share your wisdom with. What do those young people most need right now and that they're not getting?
Sure. There's a deep disconnect between a space that is safe for their emotional well-being and understanding that it is okay to explore and talk about emotional safety and connect it with pragmatic goals. And so that's what I provide, right? I also provide a safe space for people that have different viewpoints, right? Whether it be spiritual viewpoints, whether it be religious viewpoints, whether it be sexual orientation, whether, right? None of those things matter. For me, is the place of provision, of safety, and concern for your emotional well being. Because it's really hard to attach and attack any pragmatic goal. Like, for example, of a pragmatic goal could be, I just want to get through this test and I don't know what it looks like, and you're having problems because of your anxiety or because of the things that you're worried about, you can't even sit down and study for that test, right? And so all of that is what I go through during Crowned and Called, which that's what the mentoring program is called, is Crowned and Called, right? And yeah. So it's very individual based, right? So each client that a lot of clients I meet with on an individual basis. And then I do also a conference where I think the conference is somewhere between 30 to 50 people that I do every single July, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's super cool. Super cool. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, something really small and minuscule. And so Uh, there's some CBT in it as well. This is an example of some CBT that I'll
Yeah,
go through with you. Is, they would say the word basically, and I would say, hey, listen, we don't use the word basically. This is why. So when you use the word basically, two things are happening. Is you are invalidating your remembrance of the sequence of pattern of events that happened is one. And that's a little bit of a vague statement, but that's one thing. Second thing is you are invalidating your space of emotional need and concern. The third thing is you are you are allowing the listener to disregard your emotional safety and concern, right? So the word basically, right? So we do some CBT, right? As our sessions go along and we pick up on things and we train the mind to be stronger by day-to-day walk and day-to-day talk and day-to-day virtue.
absolutely. That's amazing. And and it's true. I say there is nothing basic about any of us. Like we are
Yeah.
truly,
Yeah.
when we get into the
Yeah.
flow and in alignment with
Yeah.
the spirit,
Yeah.
we are powerful. Each one
It's
of us.
kind of basically it's kind of like saying I don't know if you've heard people say my little old. It's like saying you're oh this it's like going to a restaurant and it's like oh there's a little sauce. Yeah, but does the sauce make the taco taste fantastic? Does it make it taste out of this world? Does it hit your throat follicles right? I'm sorry, that's a word that I use all the time. My bad. I didn't want to talk about throat follicles
Are
today.
you a foodie? You're a foodie, Casey. Are you a foodie?
I mean, I like food, man. Food
Yeah,
is great. It's
so do I.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a nice, I say I have an interesting palate. I like to try all kinds of food. All kinds.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So me and my wife both, we're like, which my wife really likes different types of cheese, and so we'll go to the grocery store, and she'll be like, the weirder the cheese, the better. I want to like the weirder the combination, the better, right? And yesterday we had a for Valentine's Day we bought for a specific thing. We were having bourbon, bacon, cheddar, something. Yeah, I think yeah, it was no, it wasn't cheddar. It was bourbon, bacon, like Gouda or something. Yeah.
Gouda is one of my favorites.
The
There's another
texture of
one.
Gouda, the
Yeah.
texture of Gouda is just nice. Cheddar is really limiting sometimes because it
Mhm.
can be overpowering, right? Yeah.
I like cheese too. I like the charcuterie trays. I think they're delish. They're
Charcuterie
so
boards,
good.
boards are
Yeah.
fantastic because charcuterie boards are like, who in the hell came up with the idea of making a Lunchable cool again? And
It's
they're
super cool.
fancy and as fancy as you want them to be, right?
Yep.
No, they're great. They're so great. Yeah.
They really are. I love cheese. Love cheese. So good. I think one of my favorite cheeses is sage derby. Have you ever had a sage derby?
See, I didn't even had that before. Because the truth is, there's so many cheese.
There are so many. There really
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
There's another one that is from, I believe it's from England. It's called Stilton, and it's cheddar with like a blue cheese ish, gorgonzola-ish
yeah.
kind of in the middle, and it's like,
Okay,
and then it's cheddar, and it's like it looks
yeah.
like stripe.
It's like it's like a Neapolitan cheese.
It is super good,
That's
super good.
crazy.
I'm like, this is delish. Now
Yeah,
you're making me
and then
hungry.
you can cut it horizontal and get more than one
Yes,
in the same thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really good, really good.
Yeah. I'm with you
And I
on
like
that.
the raw cheeses too. The raw cheeses that they have are really good. Manchego, love that one.
Yeah.
Lots of good cheeses. We could do
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
podcast on cheese.
We probably could. I feel like in order to do that, we would need to prepare charcuterie boards of cheeses and eat cheeses during the podcast. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's or like when you are sharing with somebody, you're just talking about a thing that you really want to do, right? That is your ultimate dream, whether it's like wanting to be a pro wrestler, wanting to be a professional baseball player, wanting to be like a this all fancy voice recorder, and you want that to be your job, right? And
Yeah.
then somebody the next time they see you and they ask you, so how's your little old dream going? How's that little old baseball thing going? How's that little old wrestling thing going? And you're like, thank you for asking, but that word is like you just stuck a knife in my side and twisted it. Because it's like you kind of spat on the idea that it's like the audacity of me to even think or have a thing that's bigger, right? Yeah. And then what happens to that dream is it gets stepped on and it
Yeah.
never gets put on paper enough to be developed and turned into objectives and then turned into strategies so that it can be a goal, right? Because they're elevating difference between dreams to goal is something that needs to happen if you want to see it in flourishing. And that's another thing that we talk about. It's just like, right, it's like, what's the difference between dreaming and having goals, right? It's cool to still have goals, right? When you get
Right.
older in
Absolutely.
age, right? Or it's cool to still have dreams once you get older in age, right? But what are the things that you truly have put down on paper that you're working towards, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, what transformation have you witnessed that reminded you that this is exactly what you were meant to do? Because when we do see other transformations in other folks, it's like, yes, we can celebrate.
Yeah.
And I love that. So,
So this is
Now you can live life elevated with superior wellness through the transformational power of light. Every second, thousands of biochemical signals are sent throughout the body using wavelengths of light. At LifeWave, our products are designed to harness that light in unique ways to optimize ultimate energy flows. Our global community is united by light, offering the promise of health, vitality, and opportunity through the power of synergy. 3 of our groundbreaking innovations together promote the ultimate in healthy living and offer you an opportunity, a 3-in-1 system that can change lives. Welcome to the future of wellness. It begins with X39, our breakthrough light-activated patch that taps into the body's natural ability to renew, restore, and perform at its best. Cellergize is a complete cellular energy and recovery system designed to fuel your day, support your mind, and recharge your body. And then, our all-new LifeWave X2O, a patented breakthrough in hydration science that dispenses light-infused water at the touch of a button. This is hydration reinvented. LifeWave X2O, when consumed daily, aids in proper hydration to support the effectiveness of X39 and Cellergize, boosting energy flows, nutrient absorption, metabolic activity, oxygen uptake, even activating key physiological responses. A power system of synergy, together more powerful than when separate. An innovative 3-in-1 system to intensify overall effectiveness. Because when your body is powered by light, energy flows and everything comes to life. It's time to build a foundation of hydration, energy, and recovery to fuel you, your body, and your business. LifeWave, the power of synergy. One system making it simple to start, share, and succeed. Awaken your potential. Experience the power of synergy. Share the light. LifeWave.
so this may not answer your question, but this is also really interesting. And so what I find really interesting is most of my boys that I have for mentorship are young boys that are African American or that or fathers aren't in their home, or mixed boys, they're white and black and they have their white mother but their black father is not present, right? And that's real near and dear to me because those geographically, because I grew up in the space that I live, right? Those, and I know the struggle is really unique for black boys and mixed boys in this geographical space. and I understand it so deeply, right? I also understand what it looks like to grow up in this space and not hold the stereotypical frame, right? I don't walk like they want me to walk, like they expect me to walk. I don't talk like they expect me to talk, right? And neither do those boys that are my clients. It's just like, right? Yeah.
That's amazing. So here's a question for you. If rhythm, because you're a percussionist, so I'm like going with the theme, you know. If rhythm had one thing to say to the world right now, what would it be?
Mm, don't talk, just listen.
Yeah. Wow, I'm like sitting with that and I'm like, yeah, that's profound. We don't listen enough.
Yeah. Then there's layers to the listening. It's like we listen to respond versus listening to actually understand, right? And then
Yeah.
that's another truth to it. It's just like, then after you listen, sit for a minute and process and let it soak in and try to understand.
Yeah. So you're on stages, right? And you speak on
Mhm.
stages. So what is the message that you want your audiences to feel, not
Mm.
just hear, but to feel when you step off the stage?
Yeah. So most of that is in regard to giving trauma education, right? And the most important thing that I need you to understand is your trauma is not your fault, but it's your responsibility. And yeah, it starts there, understanding that. Yeah.
So if folks want to get in touch with you, I have your Facebook on the
Yeah.
bottom of the screen here. I don't know if you can see it, but I see it
Yeah.
here over here. This is so it's Casey Muse, the royal speaker on Facebook. I'll show it again here.
Yeah.
And then if people want to get a hold of you, they can find you on your website.
Yep.
And that encompasses everything that you have done. And
That's a good portal of what I do and who I am. Right.
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So let's just freestyle the rest of this. I I have really enjoyed this podcast. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on?
Would like to add it, and I don't really want to touch on it, right? But the second thing that I really try to speak about
Mm-hmm.
and allow people to understand that your life has always had a cadence before your life had trauma, before your life had events, before your life you felt like had purpose. Your life has always had cadence. Your cadence was not understood or guided by you in those times, right? And so, my purpose of being present in your life is to always allow you to understand what it looks like to direct or guide the cadence in your life, right? And also to understand that you're not there to control it, you're there to influence the way that it moves, right? Yeah, because once the control starts to be a thing that we feel like we have to have, and it doesn't become the reality, we end up feeling like we're broken again, right?
Absolutely. And so, I had my time where I was in clinical research for 23 years. I'm stepping into coaching and consulting. With regard to coaching, what are the benefits of this? Why is it so important to maybe have a coach so that someone that's a coach or a guide or a facilitator or you get where I'm going with this. What are the benefits? What are the benefits of that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, because oftentimes you miss things, you don't understand things, right? Or you overlook things that need to be considered with you and your clientele and understanding how to approach things, right? Oftentimes it's not about saying the right things, but it's about how you allow the right things to be developed, right? Or how you stay muted in specific times so that you can allow people to find the right energy, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's the same concept of why a mentor needs a mentor, why a therapist needs a therapist, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's what
Absolutely.
it's like also it's like why do practitioners, if anything, take continuing ed classes?
Yeah.
Right.
Constantly evolve, right? Constantly integrate. And I kind of look at it like, okay, when you're driving a car, right? You have blind spots that you can't see. And it's like coaches,
Absolutely.
therapists, we can,
Yeah.
hey, there's that over there. Hey, that's over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
where you can
Yeah.
identify the blind
Mm.
spots for folks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, that's so important so you don't crash out.
Amen. Amen. Because that's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, listen, how I became a mentor is I had and still have six really cool mentors, right? They've been my
Yeah.
mentors for years, right? And I value them because, yeah.
Yeah. And I hear that. And I have mentors, and I think it's very important to have mentors. So with that,
Mhm.
if there are folks that are listening today and they don't have that support, what does getting that support look like?
From me or
For maybe a listener that doesn't feel that they have the support, they're not supported. What does that look like? How do they go about finding? Because there has to come a point where it's you have to help yourself, and you have to seek and find.
yeah,
And I think we're in that time. Um, so the message is you don't have to go it alone. There are people out here that will support you, but the first step is has to be done by you,
right,
right?
right,
So what do you have coming up? Are you having any talks coming up?
right. I do. I have some locally
Yeah.
in Texas. I have some locally in Texas, and I have a lot coming up with a couple of projects that I'm working on with Tyler ISD, which is the school district that I work in mostly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of things that will happen through that work, right? Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And if folks want to know anything about that, they can go to your website. I would imagine you would have all that on there.
They can go to the website or they can follow on Facebook if that's easier, right? Instagram is always good as well. The Instagram is Casey Muse. It's just my name, right? It's easy enough
Yeah.
to find. Yeah,
Perfect. Perfect. So we're definitely going to get you back on here. I want to have you back on, and maybe we can figure out like a subject to talk about and talk about that for the podcast. But I'm grateful that you came on and introduced yourself to the listeners. Now they know a little bit about you and where to contact you. And truly grateful for this opportunity to sit down with you for the last 54 minutes talking about what it is that you do and your background. So thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to say before we end for today?
No, no, not at all. I'm good. Yeah,
Okay, great. Casey, thank you so much.
thank you.
Take care of yourself. And
You too.
until next time, harness the ship.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for dialing in and listening to Harness the Shift podcast. I'm Jay, your host. I spent 23 years in clinical research and have now transitioned into guiding leaders, creators, and change makers through coaching and consulting. I also am a brand partner with LifeWave, and more information about the research and this work is available in the Central Hub link in my bio. During these conversations, my guests share how you can connect with them. All their details are in the podcast description. I'd love your help growing this podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. And make sure to subscribe and follow on YouTube, Spotify, and soon Apple Podcasts under Harness the Shift. You can also stay connected with me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Harness the Shift with Jay, and follow my long-form writings on LinkedIn and Substack at Harness the Shift with Jay. The podcast has its own Instagram channel, which is Harness the Shift Podcast. Everything I mention, coaching, retreats, guest info, and offerings is centralized in the central hub, Harness the Shift with Jay. Stay rooted in the light. We're all aligned by design, and together we're harnessing the shift.